Yo, what is going on, guys? Flashverse here, and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 7, and this will be my review and breakdown for The Flash Season 7 Episode 17, titled Heart of Matter Part 1. So yeah, it's a two-parter finale, but this episode is not only the part 1 of this finale as the penultimate episode, but it is also the 150th episode of the show. Yes, that is right, we have hit that milestone, and it's just crazy that this show has got 150 episodes. Hopefully we get more. Will we get to 200 episodes? We'll have to wait and see. If we get 10 seasons, then it's most probably going to happen, but if this show ends at season 9, then probably not. But giving you guys my quick initial thoughts on this episode before I go more in detail with a review and breakdown. This episode was probably my favorite episode of the season. I really enjoyed it. It did obviously have some issues, and that's obviously with the classic Allegra stuff. I just don't care about it. We obviously had Bart Allen as well as his older sister Nora West Allen time traveling to the past to go after Godspeed. We also had Jay Garrick returning during this episode, in which he made his first on-screen post-crisis debut on Earth Prime, which obviously confirms that he ended up on Earth Prime after Crisis on Infinite Earths as well. I know Eric Wallace during The Flash Season 6 confirmed during an interview that Jay Garrick was on Earth Prime as well, but this is the first on-screen debut of Jay Garrick on Earth Prime for the viewers, for those who don't see like the interviews and stuff. But we did also have some interesting reveals about the future, as well as this rivalry between Bart and Godspeed, which was also very interesting. We had the original Godspeed coming into play during the ending scene of this episode, alongside a very interesting cliffhanger which will lead into the season finale. And yes, although we did have a couple of returning characters during this episode, since it is a special episode after all, just wait for next week's episode. We're gonna have Speedster Iris come back, we're gonna have the Speed Force come back, but also we do have one surprise character coming back, which I'm not going to mention for the sake of spoilers, because we haven't seen that very individual during trailers or just promo material in general. So for the sake of spoilers, I'm not going to reveal who it is, but if you guys have seen the set photos, you guys would know who I am talking about. But for this episode, there's just a lot of crazy things that took place that we need to break down and just review. But before I go over anything, firstly, spoiler alert, because this is a review and breakdown after all, so I'll be going over some major spoilers which you certainly wouldn't want to hear from me, especially for this episode. It's the 150th episode. You're gonna have to see it for yourself. Do not get it spoiled for yourself. So if you haven't seen the episode, go watch the episode and come back later for this review and breakdown. But for those who are staying, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. Okay, so this episode kicks off in a very unexpected way. We kick off in the future in the year 2049 with obviously Bart Allen aka Impulse, as well as Nora West Allen aka XS going after the original Godspeed as they are fighting each other across future Central City, which was also pretty cool to see. And we have Nora using some new speedster abilities which we haven't seen before. Like, we saw her use something called the Speed Force Lasso, and that was to bring Godspeed down, and I thought that was pretty cool. But something which was very cool to see was Bart Allen phasing through Godspeed to take him down. It was very Crash, as Bart did say, but automatically we can see the differences between the two characters. Nora feels more mature and just less annoying compared to her past self during season 5, and honestly I just prefer this Nora all the way. Jessica Parker Kennedy was perfect with handling this new version of Nora West Allen compared to the one in season 5. She was just so fun, but being the older sister was a good fit as well. I think it fit her personality for this new Nora. But then we have Bart Allen, who's obviously the younger sibling. Yeah, he's just, very impulsive and very hyper, as you would expect from his alias Impulse. And you could literally feel that as soon as he enters the scene. But yeah, we have Nora and Bart just arguing with each other in regards to the way Bart took down Godspeed, and that was by phasing right through him. And Nora was not happy about this at all, because it could have harmed Bart's molecules very badly. But I love these brother and sister interactions a lot. It was something very well acted throughout the whole episode. Now, for those who don't know, it was confirmed by Jordan Fisher, the actor who plays Bart Allen, that Bart and Nora are not twins. So the show is not trying to do their own spin of Don and Dawn Allen, who are obviously the Tornado twins. Nora is a few years older. I think she's 26 years old. And I don't know how old Bart is, but we do know that Bart is younger. Now here's the thing about this. We do know that this season, Barry and Iris have been trying for a kid, and their oldest kid, as we now know, is going to be Nora West Allen. But Nora West Allen is 26 years old in 2049. So Iris would give birth to Nora during 2023. Nora would be born during 2023. So that means Iris will not get pregnant for another 2 years. So I don't know if that's just a missed detail by the writers or something and they just added that in. Or is it actually that Iris is going to become pregnant during season 9? I'm not entirely sure. The acting difference by Jessica Parker Kennedy is something I was really happy with as well. Because during season 5, she was pretty much female Bart Allen. And just a bit more annoying, but with this new version of Nora, she has grown and is more mature, and I think being the bigger sister does actually help with that, or being the older sibling. Now the reason to this is actually because, although season 5 Nora got erased from existence, this Nora's timeline is completely different. Not even that, this is a complete different Nora West Allen to the one we had in season 5. Pre-Crisis, we obviously know that Nora never grew up with Barry because Barry died during Crisis, which is why she turned to Eobard Thawne to train her because nobody else could. And that whole Cicada's Dagger storyline happens, in which results to Nora getting erased from existence. However, post-Crisis, this is different. Barry never dies, meaning he would always be there for Nora and Bart as well, because now Nora has a sibling post-Crisis. He would be the one who trains her, not Eobard Thawne, meaning she would have never met Eobard Thawne because he would never train her, because Barry would always be there for her. So that whole season 5 storyline wouldn't exist, thus preventing her from being erased from existence during season 5, because she would have never had to go back in time and save Barry. Basically, like, the whole season 4 and 5 storyline wouldn't have happened. So yeah, pretty much this Nora's timeline is just completely different. It's a totally different Nora to the one we met during season 5. Now, one thing I would like to add is that I really liked how they utilized Gideon in this episode as well. I thought that was a very nice touch. But the argument between Nora and Bart allows Godspeed to run into the Flash Museum and use the cosmic treadmill to run back in time into the time stream and time travel to the year 2021, with obviously Bart and Nora following right after him. So yeah, I really liked this scene because not only was it cool to see those two in the future just being speedsters and just facing off against a villain, but it was also very nice to have context in regards to how they got to where they were during the ending scene of episode 16. We then have Bart and Nora basically interacting with past versions of Team Flash members, like we saw them interact with Chester, for example, Caitlin and Cecile, and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was very cool. Obviously Iris isn't there because she is still facing some issues and she's in the Still Force with Dion, but one very cool detail they reveal is that future Chester is actually the smartest person in the room. Now, I don't know if that means that future Chester is going to be smarter than future Cisco or future Wells, but yeah, I thought it was just a pretty cool detail, which is why I wanted to mention it. Now, we then have Bart and Nora saying that they should go back to their timeline so that they do not screw with the past, and that was just like, you know, a set rule made by future Barry, which he obviously gave to Bart and Nora, to never screw with the timeline, because as we know, Barry loved screwing up with the timeline in the past, but Barry is forced to keep them in 2021 because the Godspeed clones are in the Speed Force, so it will be hard for them to travel back to the future until this Godspeed war is over. So yeah, they're stuck in 2021 for now. We did also have that cool speed eating scene with Bart, and once again just showing how like hyper this guy is. And we did also have Nora and Bart revealing to Barry that they have heard stories about the season 5 version of Nora West Allen, once again confirming that this is a completely different Nora West Allen to the one we met during season 5. They just look the same, I guess. But yeah, the Godspeeds are back, which results to the Flash family suiting up to stop the Godspeeds. And we had all three of them splitting up so that the Godspeeds could chase after each individual one. But there was an issue with that plan, because all of them ended up following after Bart Allen, which was pretty interesting, and eventually we had all those Godspeed clones bringing Bart onto the ground, and they were about to kill him until they just suddenly disappeared. We then had Barry wondering why all these Godspeeds went after Bart, in which we get the reveal later on in the episode that future Godspeed kills Jay Garrick in front of him, and essentially Godspeed and Bart are pretty much arch enemies, just like how Barry and Dawn are arch enemies right now. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on the storyline because I just couldn't care less about it, and surprise surprise, it's Allegra once again. I do not care about it, but yeah, she was upset about the ultraviolet stuff. Chester needs her powers to essentially power this device, which he created to basically stop the artificial kinetic energy from kicking in, so basically stopping the Godspeeds from using their speed, but it doesn't end up working, and basically leads to Allegra revealing to Chester that her cousin is dead. And the reason it doesn't work is because Chester needed a specific type of light, which I cannot remember, but because Allegra was like upset and she's angry, she was using ultraviolet blast, which was something that Chester did not want to use. Now, we do also have the Kramer and Joe storyline, which wasn't very interesting until the end, where we obviously had the Godspeed clones attacking Joe and Kramer. And from the trailer of next week's episode, we do actually see a Godspeed pull a reverse flash on Joe. So will Joe die? Or will Kristen Kramer reveal herself as a metahuman and save Joe? We'll have to wait and see. Now, we do also get answers in regards to why Wally West isn't there, and obviously it's a cover-up because Kanan Lonsdale was not available, but Gideon mentions that he was in deep meditation, which is why he was unavailable. And this is also when we have Iris returning from the Still Force, and she pretty much reveals that she knows about everything with what's been going on, with the Godspeeds, with Bart and Nora arriving in present day. She knows what's happening. She's been watching them in the Still Force. But we do also find out that Dion was able to stabilize her, which is why Iris is back. And this is just an excuse because this was when Candace Patton returned from her holiday and when she arrived to Vancouver, which was actually why she wasn't there from episode 14 all the way to episode 16. She was barely in there in episode 16. She was only there in one scene, and that was because it was filmed when she returned. So yeah, it wasn't filmed in order or anything like that. This was filmed when Candace Patton returned. So while they were filming episode 17, they're like, okay, Grant, Candace, come here. We're going to film the scene for episode 16. And they just basically do that. Now, we then cut to Jay Garrick returning. And he mentions that his powers have returned. And that was very cool to see as well. Because obviously in previous seasons, especially season 6, we found out that Jay Garrick doesn't have his speed. Like, he was on a walking stick and stuff because he lost his speed. But I guess this is a ramification of post-crisis, I guess, that Jay Garrick's powers have returned. I'm not entirely sure, but he was excited for Barry to see his powers return, and he was obviously going to go and help. We did also have Joan Williams returning, which was also pretty cool to see. Now, Michelle Harrison will be playing the Speed Force again during next week's episode. I don't know if she'll be as Joan Williams during next week's episode as well, but yeah, she's as Joan Williams for this episode. But yeah, an army of Godspeeds just invade Jay's lab, which obviously prevents Jay from going to Star Labs to basically meet with Barry and the others, and the Godspeeds eventually capture Jay Garrick. And I have to say, the way they handled Jay Garrick during this episode was absolutely amazing, especially being this, like, you know, ultimate father figure for Bart Allen. I thought it was really, really nice. But yeah, the kids meet with Iris as well as Barry while they were training in the Speed Lab to obviously practice against Godspeed. And this is when we get Barry and Iris telling Bart that they don't want Bart involved due to him being arch enemies with Godspeed, and Barry is just worried, so he just wants to make sure that his kid is safe, which is obviously understandable because he is the father of Bart Allen. Bart is just pretty much upset because Nora doesn't even back him up, so he just runs off all upset. But we then have this absolutely phenomenally well acted scene between Bart and Nora, where Bart reveals why taking down Godspeed matters so much to him, and he obviously reveals that it was Wally and Barry who trained him how to use his speed, and I really liked how they were able to fit Wally into this despite Wally not being in the episode. But we also got the reveal that Jay Garrick was the one who taught him how to handle his impulsiveness, and he was the one who taught him how to become this iconic hero, which was a very, very well acted good scene. And obviously Nora was there to comfort him as well, and I just really liked how, they basically gave, once again, as I said, Jay this father figure, if you will. I really, really liked that. And obviously, as I mentioned earlier on, we found out that in the future Bart Allen saw Godspeed kill Jay Garrick, which is also another motivational factor in regards to why he's so determined to take down Godspeed. We then have more Godspeeds invading, which leads to Barry and Nora heading over to stop them while using the device Chester made to essentially stop the Godspeed's artificial kinetic energy, aka Velocity 9. But the issue with this was, it was Barry who used his Speed Force energy to charge it, when actually Allegra needed to do it. And because it was a Speed Force energy which charged it, this allowed the Godspeeds to still have access to their speed, and this then leads to the Godspeeds knocking down Nora, and Barry's basically in trouble, and he basically runs into the blast, saving Nora, and basically all of the Godspeeds are just shooting at him. They're almost fully defeated, and this is until Frost comes in and saves the day, and I really liked how they got Frost involved into all of this as well. We then cut to this scene with Barry and Iris talking about how tragedy follows them everywhere, which obviously starts with Eobard Thawne killing Barry's mother, but this leads to Barry realizing that if Godspeed is defeated right now in 2021, he wouldn't be there in the future where Bart and Nora are around. He wouldn't end up doing things like killing Jay Garrick, for example, because he would be defeated in the past rather than the future. So yeah, they are making some major timeline changes over here, and I am very interested to see if we're going to get ramifications to this as well, because technically they're changing a big part of Bart and Nora's life. So if Godspeed isn't around, there should be certain things which are different to when we next see Bart and Nora return. I don't know if they'll do that. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But the Godspeeds send a message to Team Flash in which they want Bart Allen or else Jay Garrick will die, in which Bart cannot risk that happening again. He does not want Jay Garrick to die because Jay means a lot to him. So as soon as Team Flash finds his location, before Barry, Nora and the others even form a plan, he just speeds into the cathedral while knowing that it is a trap, once again just showing how much he cares about Jay Garrick. So yeah, we have Bart Allen in the cathedral and he finds Jay Garrick's helmet, but he doesn't find Jay Garrick, in which we then all of a sudden have Godspeed clones all manifest out of nowhere with a beaten up Jay Garrick. He's been beaten up pretty badly, and this then leads to Barry and Nora saving Bart by basically Barry copying the phasing thing which Bart did at the start of the episode. I just found it really cool how Barry learned stuff from Bart, and how Bart learned stuff from Barry during this episode as well. I thought that was really, really good. But this leads to the Flash family, so Nora, Jay and Barry trying to escort Bart to safety. However, they are surrounded by multiple different Godspeeds and they have nowhere to go. They're about to get absolutely destroyed. But Jay Garrick is obviously trying to motivate Barry to basically try and take them all down, but we know that's not going to happen. But we then have Cisco stepping into the rescue, which was so sick. We did know that Cisco was going to be on this episode, but honestly, while I was watching the episode, I just got soaked into everything with all of that Bart Allen, all that Godspeed stuff that I just completely forgot that Cisco was going to return. So even knowing beforehand that Cisco was going to return, I just got soaked into everything. I just completely forgot that Cisco was returning, so I still found it very, very surprising when we saw Cisco saving everybody. It was such a sick return, and yeah, all the Godspeeds are just frozen because he basically took the device they had from last week's episode with the Godspeed trap, but he just made it bigger and he used his gauntlet for it, which was really, really sick. And this obviously gives the team enough time to make their escape, in which it is successful. Now, throughout the episode, we did have this storyline where Caitlin was trying to get August Hart to remember things so that he could try and get his memories back, but also find out who he really is. But he was out of luck. He looked at the cosmic treadmill and he just doesn't remember it. We then have Team Flash gathered around Instar Labs, and we have Cisco reuniting with the team. We obviously had him meeting with Jay as well, which was so sick. But we then have Barry coming up with a plan to use the Neural Hyper Collider to project his consciousness into August Hart's mind, so that he could not only try to attempt to stop the Godspeed War, but also help August Hart in regards to finding out who he really is, in which he obviously asks for August's consent, and he agrees, even if it's people that he dislikes who are helping him. And when they test it out, it ends up working, just like how it worked out during episode 2 of season 6 when Barry tried to project his memories to the future to see Crisis. But yeah, Barry is in August Hart's mind, and we get to hear this very ominous voice of Godspeed calling for Barry. But yeah, this episode ends with Barry entering the cathedral, only to find out this was where the Godspeed's throne was in the future. It was in the cathedral we saw during this episode, but it was in present day, which was really, really cool to see as well. I really liked how they tied that in. But yeah, August Hart reveals himself as the big bad, and he has been waiting for Barry all along. And yeah, the episode ends there. I cannot wait to see what is next. Overall, I really, really like this episode. I know during the start of this video I said it's probably one of my favorite episodes of this season, but I really don't know. Episode 2 was just something else. But overall, for this episode, I'll give a 9.7 out of 10. It's definitely second place if it isn't first for sure. But yeah, I'll probably have to watch episode 2 again to actually see if this takes #1 spot or not. But I just cannot wait for the finale. I cannot wait to see how the storyline is wrapped up during the finale. And I cannot wait to see the final battle between the original Godspeed and the Flash. It's going to be very, very cool. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to tell me in the comment section down below if you guys like this episode. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.